So I know you're going to tell me I'm not from Evanston, so I don't know why I'm on here. But again, you're the director of Parks and Recreations. And so
Yes.
one thing I know about Evanston is the parks are important.
Yeah,
So
they're very important.
therefore you are important. Because I think your reach is a little long further than Parks and Recreations, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
it just is, you know.
Right.
Um,
We're more of parks, recreation, and community services.
yeah.
So, under our community services umbrella, we have our senior services division.
Hmm.
We also have our youth and family services division. So, that's where all of our violence prevention initiatives thrive, Mayor Summer Youth Employment Program. So, any of our workforce development initiatives
Yeah.
are a part of youth and family services. So, yeah, we have a pretty broad reach and,
Yeah.
why Parks and Rec. I think when people need help or are looking for services, the best place to go is just walk into your community center. And so, we want to be able to provide resources, but also be the ones that are, even facilitating some of those resources through our case management services. So, yeah, it is a lot more than the 80 plus parks that we do have in the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we can get started.
Sure.
I love that piece. I'm going to use that as like your to promote,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know. So, welcome to our Unseen Roots, where we highlight and recognize the women nourishing the Black community by providing them a platform to tell their stories. And today I'm here with Audrey Thompson. Um, how are you today, Audrey?
I'm doing well. It's Friday, so yes, I'm
Yeah.
doing well.
So, my first question to you is, who are you?
So I am the daughter of Ben and Louise Cone, who are both deceased. I am a woman from the South. I am HBCU educated, um, and I have a love for people. And so I feel like I am, again, a people person. I'm an extrovert. So I love and thrive around and in the midst of people. And so it is befitting that I've always worked in social services. By trade, I'm a social worker, licensed social worker. And so I feel like I lead with empathy, but also from an equity lens. I think that I view things from empathy, but also through an equity lens. So, yeah, I'm nearly 50. So, yeah, I'm doing. I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. So I'm a lot of things. A lot of things.
How important was it for you to attend an HBCU?
Really, I think I attended an HBCU by happenstance. So I didn't initially seek to go to an HBCU just because it was an HBCU. My aunt was the vice president at the time of Tougaloo College. And so my parents were not college educated, although they had a really good, my mother was a house wife or homemaker. And so my father was a minister, but they didn't have college education. So um, because of the school that I went to in high school, everybody was just going to college. That was just kind of like the next step. But because my parents didn't know a whole lot about college, I did not really prepare for college like I should have, even though my aunt was the president. And I say my aunt, in Mississippi, we have a lot of pseudo, people who take you in, and there's a family that's as close to me as any birth parents, so fictive, relatives. And she just said, hey, it doesn't seem like you have any plans to go to college. And college is starting very soon. So you need to come to Tougaloo and apply. And that's what I did. By that time, and I had really good grades, really good grades. But there was no scholarship money left. You know, at an HBCU, it goes quickly. And so I got a choral music scholarship for singing. So, but I stayed for a while and sang for 2 years in the concert choir. And then after that, because I was an English major, I needed to spend more time in writing papers and singing till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I didn't plan. You know, it wasn't like I got to go to an HBCU. In the South, it's pretty traditional to go to an HBCU. And I had a lot of classmates who were from Chicago
Yeah.
because there aren't a lot of HBCUs, you know, in the North. And so many people wanted the experience of an HBCU. But yeah, it just happened that way. I went to Tougaloo for my undergrad degree in English, and then I got my master's degree in social work from Jackson State University.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
interesting.
best
Yeah.
thing though.
What I found interesting about what you just said was you got a scholarship for a core, and people don't really think of singing as a way of getting a scholarship to school. You know,
No, no.
it's very interesting. I like that. That's
Yeah. You know, I come from a musical family. My father um, was the minister for the Mississippi Mass Choir. He didn't sing, or he could sing, but that wasn't his role in the choir. He was their road pastor.
Mhm.
But my brother sings, I sing, my nephew sings and plays 4 instruments. And so he is about to graduate from college, but, you know, traditionally we'll say music and playing instruments are not like a real job.
Yeah.
And we say that, but I'm eating my words for saying it to him because he's the drummer for Todd Delaney, and he travels all across the country. He has more marks on his passport than I ever could. You know, he's sending me messages saying I'm in Turks and Caicos, I'm in
Yeah.
London, and I'm like, wow. And I say, I'm gonna have to eat those words that music is not a real job. It is.
Yeah. It's
It
very
definitely is a
true.
real job. But he's not in my pocket. He's not asking me for money. So obviously it's a real job.
Right. What has been the life-forming incident in your life?
Oh, I've had so many of them. You know, I think that a lot of incidents that I've had in life are related to trauma.
Mhm.
I think I've been able to turn trauma or pain from trauma into, you know, my life stories. You know, my name is Audrey Lorraine, and I am named after my father's sister who committed death by suicide. So
Mhm.
she was a woman living in the 40s, 50s. She was born in 1933, and she was a woman who was in love with another woman and could not express that. And when she was able, she decided to end her life by suicide. And I say decided because I don't know that that's really a choice. You know, there was something going on, and that's my whole name. So I love my name because but even though I never was able to meet my aunt, she was a nurse. And I feel like some of those caring qualities have kind of just, I think in some way she has bestowed some of that on me. You know, so I grew up in the South where, you know, there's a lot of disparities. And so I think much of that, you know, I didn't grow up in poverty when it came to my parents, but, you know, from a divorce and being heavily in debt and understanding, you know, budgeting and spending money and working and climbing your way out of poverty from, you know, some of the choices that I made from, you know, not being in a productive marriage are really what have those things have really shaped me in even relationships that I have now. So I think just a lot of things that have happened in my life. I'm a social worker. That's not what I wanted to go to school for. I have a degree in English. I wanted to go to law school, but I ended up going to social work school because I just felt like, when it comes to empowerment, we don't really empower people, but we give them the tools that help them to feel empowered to do different things. And so I've always wanted to be a part of, providing resources to people that will empower them to make different life choices. So yeah, I think trauma and pain are part of who I am and why I work so hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It sounds like trauma and pain have been the forming instance in your life. At the same time, your aunt has been that as well because she was a nurse,
Mhm.
and that's social work, and
Mhm.
you ended up just doing that, and it's interesting as well. You said 1933? Is
That's
that
when
is
she
it?
was born. Yeah, she was born in 1933.
And
Yeah.
so she found herself in love with another woman, and that was hard to bear at that time, and now look how far we've come.
Look how
That
far
is
we've come.
that is a normality now, you
It
know,
is. Yeah.
and it's
And I
and
wear rainbows all the time. And,
yeah.
I have a pen that I really like. It's a rainbow and it has a gun and, like no gun violence in it.
Mhm,
And I love that pen. And people always ask, and I am not same gender loving.
mhm,
I'm married to a man, but I respect people's choices and I love love. And so if people choose to love whomever, I don't judge that. And so I support people in their journey, whatever that is. So, I am also an orphan. Both
mhm,
of my parents. I say I'm closer to 50 than I am 45. I'm 47, and both of my parents are deceased.
mhm,
And so I think when it comes to how I got my start in Evanston working with and for older adults, I have a passion for older adults and young people. Um, the middle folks, y'all can take care of yourselves. But but older adults and youth, I really have a passion. And before I came to Evanston, I never worked with older adults.
mm,
I only work with youth in Mississippi. I was the regional program director at Mississippi Children's Home, and I only work with young people who had severe mental illness.
mhm.
Some who were not even able to go to school, some who had to live in long term residential treatment facilities. So I have a long history of working with young people with a lot of mental illness and just a lot of trauma. And so I did that for nearly 18 years before I moved to Evanston and changed my advocacy role to older adults, and did that for 10 years and then switched back over to youth. But I still, in every job, I just pick up a little bit, a few more skills here and there. But yeah, my passion is really for young people and older adults.
Yeah, you just said something that I'd been thinking about, and I read some articles and things about that, but mental illness and the youth, I
Mhm.
read somewhere where, and I think it was the in any event, I read where prisons are now considered not considered, but they're being used as mental illness hospitals.
Mhm.
Have you come across that?
Well, yeah. So, many individuals who find themselves incarcerated have severe mental illness. And so a large part of, like you've got wardens and you've got folks who are working in prisons, they're now having to equip um, prisons and detention centers with social workers and mental health therapists, and that's what should be happening, because if they are returning to our communities, If they have not had any mental health resources, then just you can just imagine what would happen if they were incarcerated for a long period of time. And some do not get mental health resources, but it's in our best interest to provide those resources if a person is incarcerated, so that they have a better chance when they are returning to our communities, in just life with their families, or returning to jobs or what have you. So they have a better a way of being able to make it. So yeah, I think mental health services are not just important for people who are incarcerated, but just people in general. I think in our communities, people don't feel like that is a powerful thing for a person to do. Um, but I feel like when a person can say, "I'm struggling and
Yeah.
I need to talk to somebody," I
Yeah.
think that is a strong person that can say that. And we need to stop making it appear that if a person needs or seeks mental health counseling, that they're weak. I think they're strong, and just to be able to say that they need some additional services. Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. As a black man, I'm sorry. It's funny because I was thinking as you were speaking, I had interviewed a therapist who's a man, and we had some similar conversations about
Uh-huh.
that.
For sure. For sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
As a black woman, what
Mhm.
is your greatest superpower?
Ooh, my superpower. Hmm. So I think my superpower is probably my ability to love unconditionally.
Mm,
Um, I I do feel like people that there should be consequences for our actions. I believe in restorative justice.
mhm,
I believe that when we wrong people, we need to repair harm, and a large part of times that means that we have to start with just simply saying, "I'm sorry. I am sorry. I've wronged you. Please forgive me." And so I think that even though I love unconditionally, that does not mean that I feel that a person can, walk over another person or walk on another person or harm them in some way. But um, I'm able to really say what I need to say and then move on. I and continue to love and respect individuals, and again, and love them. They may not be in my space, but I can still love them and understand that humans are humans, and people make mistakes, and that we do have to forgive and be forgiven. If we don't forgive, it's difficult to be forgiven. And so that forgiveness and unconditional love to me kind of go hand in hand, and I think that's a part of my superpower. I also think another superpower is I am a very hard worker. Um, my mother was a housekeeper. In those days, they called them maids, for rich white folks in
mm,
Florida. She worked for rich folks, even as a young person, taking care of their children and cleaning their homes. Rich citrus tycoons in Florida, and I everything I know and everything I am, I learned from my mother, who did not have but a high school education. And so when I think about those things, I also understand that even though I have 2 degrees, they mean little when it comes to how we treat other people. And so my mother was a genuine, loving person. And I hope that I could have just like a little bit of that. But I think a part of my superpower is that I get from her. You can't outwork me.
hmm,
That's a superpower. You cannot
mhm.
outwork me.
Yeah.
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 I'm a come early and I'm staying late.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
don't know it, I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My grandmother, as she was bringing me up, she said, one thing you should always keep in mind, if you have respect and manners, you could be the poorest person in the world, but if you
Yeah.
have respect and manners, you will have riches beyond glory.
Yeah. You can go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I've noticed in life in my travels that is very true. It's very
Yes,
true.
for sure. For sure. And that yes, ma'am, you hear me say it, I'm still a little country. It hasn't left in 13 years, I'm still a little country.
I still have
But
to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir. No. I was 21 years old when my uncle
tell you,
said to me, "You don't have to say no, sir, to me, yes, sir, to me anymore. I know
yes,
you've
I do.
got respect."
And I tell even the older adults that I work with, I still say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Mhm.
And and they'll say, you don't have to say that you're grown. I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I still have to say that because you're still growner than me.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
so you're still my elder, so I am going to say, "Yes, ma'am." And it's more difficult to be disrespectful when you're saying, "Yes, ma'am," and "No, ma'am,"
It's
or
true.
"Yes, sir," and "No, sir."
It's very
It's
true.
harder.
One of the things my family would say, or people from my country, my family's from Belize,
Mm,
and I was the first American born on my mom's side, and so you would hear people say, "Well, you gotta say yes, sir, no." So you and I aren't in the same. I'm not in the same run as you,
not in the
meaning
same run.
I'm not in the same age group, so I
That's right.
can't just say yes or no.
That's right. Yes, yes, yes. You're so right. Yep. It's taken us a long way,
Yeah, yeah, and it'll
for
take us
sure.
even further.
Yep, absolutely.
Who has helped you to become the woman you are today?
Oh, that would definitely be my mom. But I think that there are a lot of people like my mom passed in 2014, and so after that I still think that there are women who have taken me under their wings. It's crazy because my middle name is Lorraine, and I love my middle name. I think when I rode up to the Civic Center, I was riding around Evanston before I did my interview for my first job in 2010, and
Hmm.
I saw Lorraine Morton and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is my job because my name on the building. What are we talking about? My name on the building."
Yeah.
And and then my husband's mother's name is Lorraine. So I
Mm.
was like, "Oh yeah, we getting married because yeah, your mom and I got the same name. What's going on?" It's like So I think I love my mother-in-law. I know that some people are like, I can't stand my mother-in-law, but she's like another mother to me.
Yeah.
And so while my mother made me the woman that I am, there are still other women who have cultivated me and
Mhm.
given me advice, sometimes not the easiest to take. There have been times that, Alderman Holmes has called and said, "Daughter, let me tell you something."
Yeah.
And so I respect that and receive that. The Eva Coleys of the world, it's so many older adults and women in Evanston
Yeah.
that have helped to cultivate me as a woman, as a Black woman. And so I give kudos to my mom, but there are still other women who have been very instrumental in my development for sure. Mhm.
Do you believe you're living in your purpose? Why or why not?
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, I I think I feel like I'm living in my purpose because I say I've always wanted to help people, but I never thought that I would be able to reach people to the degree that God has allowed me to. Like He's able, my scope, my reach is so broad, and I
Mhm.
think um that it's unbelievable because I'm a woman who, even as a social worker, I always thought, you'll never make a lot of money, doing what you do because, social workers, can't make a whole lot of money. And as a Black woman, running the Parks and Recreation department, I feel like I'm working in my purpose because at some point I have gained favor that I don't deserve.
Hmm.
And so, I say that, even when I have a hard meeting coming up, or when I'm going to have a hard conversation with a team member or a community member, I still say a quick little prayer before I engage in that conversation. Because sometimes, even though you are saying the right thing, sometimes the way that it comes out may not be appropriate. And I don't ever want someone to leave my presence feeling some sort of kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that doesn't always happen. I mean, I'm sure that doesn't always happen, but I feel like when I'm able to capture that and say, that was a wrong decision. That was the wrong way that you handled that. I hope that I'm also able to go back and say that, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please forgive me. And so working in purpose also means being able to understand and feel like you're where you're supposed to be. And I do feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What
For
do you
sure.
wish? What do you wish you had what do you wish you had more of in your life?
Um, it would definitely be more time, for sure. Um, and that's impossible. You only get what you get.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for us to manage our time wisely, and to honor the time that we have with the people we love, or the people who are giving us a part of their time. I think that's important too. If someone is, I tell folks who work with me that, when people call you on the phone, even if they're screaming and yelling and cussing at you, if you will always think that the conversation is being recorded, you'll get yourself together. You will become, and your mannerisms and everything will take on a different, the way that you come off will be totally different if you just think this conversation is being recorded. And so, I think that, when it comes to folks that are working with me, if I had more time, ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I could accomplish so much more if I had some more time. But tell you, you just got to value people and the time that you've been given and do what you can with the time you've got. But if I had more, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. What would it look like if you were doing what you wanted to be doing?
It'd look like this.
It would look like this.
I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. I
Yeah.
I really enjoy my work. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
I enjoy my work. There are never 2 days alike. There's always a challenge, always a puzzle to, figure out. And I think I would gouge my eyes out if I had to go to a job 8 to 5 and do the same thing over and over again. So I'm doing exactly what I want to do, for sure.
Who are your co-conspirators? The people that um, help you meet the challenges facing you.
I know we talked a little bit about Chief Stewart, our police chief. She and I work really, really well together, and we joke all the time because, um, when we first met each other, it was during her interview process. I was on one of the interview panels, and the big thing in Evanston is, are you born and raised in Evanston? Like the first thing folks say is, I'm an Evanstonian. I was born and raised here. I've been here 50 years. Like you got to lead with that.
Right.
So a lot of times when you are not an Evanstonian, you coming up from the rear. So, sometimes, so when we interviewed her, understanding that she was an Evanstonian, right up front, I felt some sort of way about that. I was like, oh, here we go again,
Yeah,
Evanston.
yeah,
But, as we work together, people really think that we are co-conspirators,
yeah.
but it is because we hold each other accountable. We do not always agree with each other. Sometimes we are going at it, tit for tat. Like, no, I don't think it should be. We are going, but I believe that iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And so we work well together because we challenge each other, but we also hold each other accountable. So if she feels like there was something that was wrong, she'll call me and tell me, and I'll do the same. And so I feel like when it comes to that, she is a co-conspirator, like at work, like in
Mhm.
my professional life. Um, so and I have really good and devoted friends and family that I feel hold me accountable as well. So I feel like they are my co-conspirators. But yeah, at work professionally, Chief Stewart definitely is that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's my girl. I love Chief Stewart. What can your community do to support you?
I'll show up. So, a lot of times when we are working with young people, I tell people all the time when there is a young person who is, not had the best life growing up and the opportunities may have been pretty slim to none. Um, Whenever they're interviewed and they make it to the NBA or whatever, they always talk about a mentor, some adult that saw something in them that no one else saw when they were stealing bikes or, doing
Mhm.
something that folks were like, you going to jail.
Yeah,
You know, when they were doing stuff that it was somebody who pulled them aside and said, I understand something's going on, but I'm here. And I always tell our community that we have to show up like that for our young people. So when I say that for our young people, it's the same thing. When we're having a public meeting in order to design a park, I need our community to show up and tell us what things you'd like to see in the park. What kind of programs and services do you want not only the Parks and Rec Department to implement, but the city? So I understand and know that our Evanston community is pretty vocal,
mhm,
but a lot of times it's the same voices, same folks you see at the same meetings. I would just like to see people who don't normally come out. I'd
mhm.
like for them, the folks that say, "Oh, my vote won't count." I want them to come out because their vote actually does count, and I don't always want to do things because of the loudest voices in the room. So, what can the community do? They can show up, they can support us. I welcome positive feedback, negative feedback, constructive feedback. I welcome it all. So
Yeah.
that's what they can do.
What visions do you have for your community?
Um, I think one vision that I have is, of course, I would always want our parks because it's wonderful when people can get outside and walk to a park, but not just walk to a park, but one that is fully functional.
Yeah.
So I have visions of our community that have all of our parks in like tip top shape. I have visions where people are employed to the degree that they want to be employed. I mean, making livable wages, not just minimum wage, but wages, but livable wages. So I'm excited about, what our council is doing as far as looking at all of those things. Um, I want a community. I have a vision for our community that we take care of our people with disabilities. Um, and I mean that, and what I mean by that is that we're care partners, not giving care, but we're our partners in providing resources for people who have disabilities. And accessibility is when you make things accessible for all people, um, I have a vision that if we are able to do that, we'll see a different kind of Evanston, one where we love people, all people, no matter what their abilities are, and that we are providing resources and accommodations for all people. So those are, just a few of the visions that I have. I have visions that young people, whether they want to go to college or not, are provided resources and education in those different things that will add meaning and purpose to their lives, and also allow them to make a livable wage. So yeah, I have a vision that older adults will be able to live in harmony and die um, as they see fit. Those are all visions of a community that's really taking care of one another. Um, yeah, those are some visions that I have for our community.
Mm, some beautiful visions. Lofty and very attainable, though. Very
Yeah, for
attainable.
sure. Yes, definitely, definitely.
And our final question
Sure.
is, what does liberation look like for Black women?
Ooh, um, so I think that's a loaded question. It's a good one. Um, so I think liberation for Black women really looks like being in a place, because liberation is freedom, of course.
Mhm,
And I think that that's being free to be able to voice our thoughts and opinions without being viewed as an angry Black woman. I think it means being able to have jobs and professions that are in line with our male counterparts, and that we are paid in the same way in which men are paid. Um, and I think that when it comes to freedom, it doesn't mean that I don't want to be treated like a lady. Because when you think of the feminist movement, um, and the first thing people say is, "Oh, that means that you don't want your door open, or you don't, you know, chivalry. You're not up for that." I still am okay with someone being courteous and kind to me, um, without making it about me being a woman.
mhm,
It's just being courteous and kind. So I think that freedom and liberation for Black women would be really just making sure that we're treated equitably. And a lot of times we think that that means being treated the same, but it means being treated fairly. And if what I am doing, if I can work in a manner that says that I'm qualified and I can get the job done, I should be paid in the manner in which I should be paid, and I shouldn't be talked to as if I don't understand because of my gender and the color of my skin.
mhm,
So yeah, that's happened a lot. And so, yeah, being a Black woman in a director position for the city of Evanston, um, you know, yeah, liberation means um, don't think that I don't know what's happening, or that I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing because of the color of my skin and because I'm a woman.
mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, it sounds like you. It sounds like you already have the remedy for that by saying your prayer before you go into every meeting.
Oh,
Because
I said I do.
if not, it'd be very easy for you to sort of lose control of what is being said and so on
Oh
and
yeah,
so forth. Um,
yeah,
you
yeah. Prayer changes things for sure.
know.
I've been in some really sticky situations, not really understanding, how I was going to maneuver or pivot. But I've been able to fare well, and I think that is because of that quick second prayer it's just a couple of words before I go in, and I say the same thing. Oh, please, Lord, help me.
Yeah, real simple,
That's
real
it.
to the
Real
point.
simple.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I know he understands what that means. It's a whole lot of things behind please, Lord, help me.
yeah,
It's a lot
yeah.
behind that. So yeah,
Well,
that's what helps.
I know that you have helped a lot of other Black women with just that simple little prayer right there.
For
Audrey, I
sure.
want to thank you for your time. I want
You're
to
welcome. You're
your
welcome.
time
No,
of
thanks
being
for
with us.
inviting me. This was
You're very
wonderful.
welcome. Well, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.